They were the faces of a generation, a perfect television family that felt like ours. But as the cameras stopped rolling, life took a dramatic turn for the cast of Who's the Boss? 1984. From health scares to career collapses, the truth of their now is far more intense than you ever imagined. Get ready for a nostalgic roller coaster that reveals who stayed on top and who lost it all. Alyssa Milano as Samantha Michelli. Born on December 19, 1972 in Brooklyn, New York, Milano began her career on stage before landing her breakout role on the sitcom Who's the Boss? At the age of 11, she first brought Samantha Michelli to life, growing up on national television alongside her character. Her portrayal of the sports-loving, down-to-earth tomboy resonated deeply with audiences, making Samantha a relatable icon for teenagers navigating the awkwardness of adolescence in the 1980s and early 1990s. The character's massive success helped anchor the show for 8 seasons and solidified Milano as a household name. Despite her wholesome, confident on-screen persona, growing up as a child star in the blinding glare of the public eye presented profound personal challenges. Unlike the grounded Samantha, Milano had to navigate the intense, isolating pressures of fame from a very young age, later speaking candidly about her struggles with crippling anxiety and the trauma of growing up too fast. Professionally, she faced the heavy burden of typecasting. Shedding her sweet TV daughter image proved exceedingly difficult. After Who's the Boss was canceled in 1992, she experienced a prolonged period of difficulty finding mainstream work that treated her as an adult. This career hardship pushed her to actively seek out darker, provocative roles in independent thrillers and B-movies during the 1990s, taking on controversial projects just to prove she had outgrown her sitcom roots. Over the decades, Milano successfully transitioned into a versatile adult actress and prominent activist, leaving a lasting mark with television hits like Melrose Place and the long-running supernatural series Charmed. At the age of 53, she continues to balance her creative career with intense political and social advocacy, having played a crucial high-profile role in popularizing the #MeToo movement and remaining a highly vocal champion for women's rights. She is married to talent agent Dave Bugliari, with whom she shares 2 children, Milo and Elizabella. Through the highs and lows of show business, Milano has cemented her legacy not just as a beloved television star, but as an outspoken leader using her platform for global change. Tony Danza as Tony Michelli. Born on April 21, 1951 in Brooklyn, New York, the former professional boxer and taxi star stepped into his most famous leading role in 1984. At the age of 33, Danza's portrayal of Tony Michelli, a retired baseball player who relocates to Connecticut to become a live-in housekeeper, became a cultural touchstone that playfully subverted traditional gender roles. For 8 seasons, his charming, street-smart, and deeply caring performance resonated with audiences, making Who's the Boss a massive ratings hit and cementing the character as one of the most beloved sitcom fathers of the decade. While Tony Michelli was the ultimate sensitive, domestically inclined caretaker, Tony Danza's real-life roots were tied to a tough Brooklyn upbringing and a stint as a professional middleweight boxer. Following the immense success of the show, Danza experienced the professional sting of severe typecasting, becoming so closely tied to his lovable working-class Italian-American persona that Hollywood repeatedly cast him as characters literally named Tony. He struggled to replicate his earlier television dominance, facing the disheartening cancellations of subsequent starring vehicles like Hudson Street in 1996 and his 1997 sitcom The Tony Danza Show, making it difficult for him to break the mold his iconic character had created. Despite these professional hurdles, Danza continued to reinvent himself through theater, daytime television, and even education. He found success on Broadway in shows like The Producers and Honeymoon in Vegas, hosted his own daytime talk show, and spent a year teaching 10th grade English in Philadelphia, an experience he chronicled in a published book. A father of 4 from 2 previous marriages, he has largely maintained an active, multifaceted career. At the age of 74, He remains a beloved and enduring figure in the entertainment industry, continuing his work in live cabaret and acting, while actively working alongside Alyssa Milano to develop a long-awaited sequel series to the show that made him a household name. Judith Light as Angela Bauer. Born on February 9, 1949 in Trenton, New Jersey, the acclaimed actress first made a name for herself on the daytime soap opera One Life to Live, before landing her defining comedic role. At the age of 35, Light took on the role of Angela Bauer, an uptight, highly successful advertising executive and single mother on Who's the Boss? The show became a massive cultural touchstone by directly challenging traditional 1980s gender dynamics, placing a woman as the corporate breadwinner and a man as the live-in domestic caregiver. For 8 hugely successful seasons, her portrayal of the ambitious yet romantically flustered powerhouse resonated deeply with audiences, paving the way for future depictions of working mothers on television. Despite playing a tightly wound corporate character who was famously inept at household warmth, Judith Light is widely described by peers as incredibly warm, deeply spiritual, highly empathetic, and emotionally open. This stark contrast was a testament to her acting ability, though the massive success of the sitcom eventually became a double-edged sword. When Who's the Boss ended its long run in 1992, Light faced a severe struggle with typecasting. The industry strictly viewed her as a lighthearted sitcom mom, making it incredibly difficult for her to find serious dramatic work or return to her theatrical roots. She endured a frustrating career slump in the late 1990s and early 2000s, fighting hard to shed the sitcom stigma and prove her vast, dramatic range to casting directors who struggled to see past Angela Bauer. Judith Light eventually shattered that typecasting, executing one of the most successful career reinventions in entertainment history by returning to the stage and taking on complex television roles. She earned 2 consecutive Tony Awards in 2012 and 2013 and garnered immense critical acclaim for her television performances in Ugly Betty, Law and Order SVU, and Transparent, the latter earning her multiple Emmy and Golden Globe nominations. She also won a Primetime Emmy in 2024 for her guest role in Poker Face. Married to actor Robert Desiderio since 1985, she is also a tireless and highly decorated champion for LGBTQ+ rights and HIV/AIDS awareness. At the age of 77, Judith Light continues to thrive as a revered and highly sought-after actress, widely celebrated for both her formidable talent and her lifelong philanthropy. Danny Pintauro as Jonathan Bauer. Born on January 6, 1976 in Milltown, New Jersey, the young actor brought Jonathan Bauer to life on the beloved sitcom Who's the Boss? At the age of 8, Pintauro's portrayal of the lovable, slightly mischievous, and witty son of advertising executive Angela Bauer became a staple of 1980s television. Growing up on screen for 8 seasons, his character provided a relatable and innocent perspective within an unconventional household, contributing heavily to the show's massive cultural impact and its enduring status as a defining family comedy of the era. While Jonathan Bauer enjoyed a relatively sheltered and carefree upbringing in a picturesque Connecticut home, Danny Pintauro's reality became fraught with intense personal and professional challenges. Finding it difficult to shed his child star image, he experienced significant hardships in securing new acting roles after the show ended in 1992. Seeking a normal life, he stepped away from Hollywood to attend college, but his privacy was devastatingly shattered in 1997 when he was forcibly outed as gay by a tabloid magazine. This traumatic loss of agency, coupled with the pressures of post-fame life, led to a period of profound struggle, including a battle with crystal meth addiction and a life-altering HIV diagnosis in 2003. The innocent charm of his sitcom alter ego stood in stark contrast to the grueling, very real hurdles Pintauro had to overcome away from the cameras. Pintauro eventually sought treatment and found stability, leaving the entertainment industry behind for decades to work everyday jobs as a restaurant manager and a veterinary technician. In 2014, he married his husband, Will Tabarez, and the following year he bravely shared his story of addiction and his HIV status in a highly publicized interview with Oprah Winfrey, becoming a passionate advocate for the LGBTQ+ community and HIV awareness. At the age of 50, he has successfully reclaimed his narrative and made a return to his acting roots, appearing in projects like the holiday film A Country Christmas Harmony. Today, he continues to balance his advocacy work with a renewed, healthier relationship with the entertainment world. Katherine Helmond as Mona Robinson. Born on July 5, 1929 in Galveston, Texas, the stage-trained actress first gained widespread television fame on the controversial sitcom Soap before landing her most defining role. At the age of 55, Helmond brought Mona Robinson to life in the 1984 premiere of Who's the Boss? Her portrayal of the progressive, feisty, and sexually unapologetic grandmother became a cultural touchstone, shattering traditional docile television molds for older women. For 8 seasons, Mona's quick-witted banter and vibrant independence provided brilliant comic relief, earning Helmond multiple Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe, and cementing the character as one of the most beloved and groundbreaking matriarchs in sitcom history. Despite the character's flamboyant, man-chasing, and highly extroverted nature, Katherine Helmond's real life stood in stark contrast to Mona's wild antics. Off-screen, she was a deeply grounded private individual and a devoted student of Zen Buddhism who enjoyed a quiet, long-lasting marriage to her second husband, sculptor David Christian. Professionally, her immense success as Mona and previously as the ditzy Jessica Tate on Soap resulted in the heavy burden of being typecast. Hollywood frequently pigeonholed her into playing variations of the eccentric, over-the-top mother figure. This typecasting, coupled with the entertainment industry's notorious difficulty in providing substantial multi-dimensional roles for aging women, made it a constant struggle for her to find diverse dramatic work after Who's the Boss? Concluded its long run in 1992. Katherine Helmond continued to work steadily in television and film throughout her later years, though she never had children and maintained a fiercely private personal life. She successfully leaned into her comedic niche, taking on memorable recurring roles as eccentric team owner Doris Sherman on the 90s sitcom Coach, and as Deborah's snooty mother Lois Whelan on Everybody Loves Raymond. She also endeared herself to an entirely new generation by voicing the antique car Lizzie in Disney/Pixar's Cars film franchise. Helmond passed away at her home in Los Angeles, California on February 23, 2019, at the age of 89 from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. Her death was followed by an outpouring of emotional tributes from her former Who's the Boss co-stars, including Tony Danza and Alyssa Milano, who publicly mourned the loss of their beloved television family member and celebrated her as a consummate professional and a trailblazing talent. Leah Remini as Charlie Briscoe. Born on June 15, 1970 in Brooklyn, New York, the outspoken actress first brought Charlie Briscoe to life in a backdoor pilot on the hit sitcom Who's the Boss? Before starring in its spin-off Living Dolls. At the age of 18, Remini's portrayal of the sassy, street-smart teenager thrust into the glamorous world of a teen modeling agency became an instant hit with audiences. Charlie Briscoe offered a relatable working-class contrast to the polished world of high fashion, marking Remini's early breakout in television and paving the way for her future as one of the medium's favorite tough but lovable sitcom stars. Despite playing a rebellious teen navigating the superficial and glamorous world of teen modeling, Leah Remini was remarkably grounded, down to earth, and a far cry from the vapid Hollywood scene. In stark contrast to her character's light-hearted fictional struggles, Remini's real-life youth was heavily controlled behind the scenes by her strict, highly regimented upbringing in the Church of Scientology, which often masked a deep vulnerability beneath her tough Brooklyn exterior. Her early career was also marked by severe professional turbulence. The promising spin-off Living Dolls was universally panned by critics and abruptly canceled by ABC after just 12 episodes. Following this, Remini endured a difficult period of professional hardships and rejection, bouncing between several short-lived, canceled sitcoms in the 1990s like First Time Out and Fired Up, and facing the devastating sting of high-profile rejections, most famously losing the role of Monica Geller on Friends, before finally finding lasting stability. Leah Remini eventually found massive television success, starring as Carrie Heffernan on the hit comedy The King of Queens for 9 seasons, but her most profound public impact came later in life. In 2013, she famously left the Church of Scientology and dedicated herself to exposing the organization's abuses, penning the #1 New York Times best-selling memoir, Troublemaker, and creating the Emmy-winning docuseries Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath. In her personal life, she welcomed a daughter, Sophia, and in late 2024, she finalized her divorce from her husband of 21 years, Angelo Pagan. At the age of 55, Remini remains a fierce activist, podcast host, and television personality, actively pursuing a degree at New York University and continuing to use her platform to advocate for victims of cults and religious abuse. Fran Drescher as Carol Patrice. Born on September 30th, 1957 in Flushing, Queens, New York, the distinctive-voiced actress made a memorable mark on the hit sitcom Who's the Boss?, which premiered in 1984. At the age of 28, Drescher's portrayal of Carol Patrice Mona's flamboyant and highly opinionated interior decorator offered audiences an early primetime dose of the comedic brilliance that would define her career. Though she originated as a guest star in the 1985 Season 2 episode The Heiress, her impeccable timing, undeniable screen presence, and unique style brought immense success to the character, making her a standout fan favorite. The cultural impact of her bold, working-class Queens aesthetic was so immediate that producers brought her back to anchor a backdoor pilot, laying the foundation for the fashion girl from Flushing archetype she would later immortalize in television history. Despite the character's superficial, flighty, and aesthetically obsessed nature, Fran Drescher is deeply grounded, resilient, and described by those who know her as a fierce intellectual advocate, the polar opposite of the pampered women she often played. This contrast highlighted the professional hurdles she faced. Her career was heavily marked by the struggle of being typecast due to her signature nasal voice and thick New York accent, which initially made it incredibly difficult for her to find diverse or dramatic work in Hollywood. She endured the disappointment of several failed television pilots and the abrupt cancellation of her 1991 CBS sitcom, Princesses, leaving her struggling to secure steady leading roles that matched her talent. Behind the scenes, she navigated these professional stings while quietly overcoming profound personal traumas, demonstrating a quiet strength completely unlike her boisterous on-screen counterparts. Fran Drescher continued to work in television and film, ultimately taking control of her own destiny by co-creating and starring in the massive 90s hit The Nanny, which permanently cemented her global superstardom. Later in life, she transformed her personal battle with uterine cancer into a relentless health advocacy mission by founding the Cancer Schmancer movement while maintaining a close personal relationship with her ex-husband and producing partner Peter Mark Jacobson. She has also remained highly active in politics and labor, serving as the president of the SAG-AFTRA union and famously leading the historic 2023 actors' strike to a successful resolution. At the age of 68, she is a deeply respected industry powerhouse and activist who balances her ongoing executive union duties with select acting projects, including a return to her classic role of Bobby Fleckman in Spinal Tap 2, continuing to thrive as a fiercely independent and iconic figure in Hollywood. Leslie Nielsen as Max. Born on February 11, 1926, the Regina, Saskatchewan native first built a prolific career in dramatic roles before bringing his signature charm to the hit 1984 sitcom, Who's the Boss? At the age of 61, Nielsen first took on the role of Max Muldoon, the wealthy and dashing romantic suitor to Mona, capturing audiences with his suave demeanor. His portrayal of the sophisticated client-turned-fiancé became a memorable cultural touchstone for the series, offering a prime-time depiction of mature, spirited romance that was both hilarious and significant. During his guest-starring arc, His impeccable comedic timing helped define a character that remains a beloved and fan-favorite chapter in the iconic show's history. Despite the character's traditionally romantic, straight-laced, and composed nature, Leslie Nielsen was a notorious prankster, fiercely unpretentious, and described by those who knew him as the polar opposite of the serious figures he so perfectly portrayed. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. While playing the handsome suitor was a nod to his early career, he found his truest joy in absurd humor, famously carrying a handheld fart machine to interviews and sets. His career was heavily marked by the struggle of being typecast as a stoic leading man, which for a long period made it incredibly difficult for him to find work in the comedic roles he genuinely desired. After finally reinventing himself as a deadpan comedy legend, he faced the inverse professional hardship, finding it nearly impossible to be taken seriously by casting directors for dramatic parts ever again. Leslie Nielsen continued to work in television and film for decades, marrying 4 times and raising 2 daughters while cementing his status as a cinematic icon. He achieved massive global success, taking on the starring role of Lieutenant Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun film franchise, and he headlined a string of popular spoof comedies like Spy Hard and Wrongfully Accused throughout the 90s. In the 2000s, he reprised his beloved deadpan persona in the Scary Movie series and various television guest spots. Nielsen passed away at a hospital near his home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on November 28, 2010, at the age of 84, from complications related to pneumonia. His death was followed by a massive outpouring of tributes from the comedy world, and in a notable final testament to his enduring spirit, he was laid to rest at Evergreen Cemetery, with a deliberately humorous epitaph reading, "Let her rip," ensuring his status as an untouchable comedy legend remains firmly intact as of 2026. Delta Burke as Diane Wilmington. Born on July 30th, 1956 in Orlando, Florida, the former Miss Florida pageant winner brought her undeniable charm to television screens just as her career was beginning to skyrocket. At the age of 28, Burke took on the role of Diane Wilmington in the early episodes of the 1984 sitcom, Who's the Boss? Her portrayal offered a vibrant, confident, and sophisticated presence that added a layer of comedic tension to the show's unconventional household dynamic. Her sharp delivery and natural screen magnetism helped establish the character as a memorable guest star, contributing to the high-energy atmosphere that made the series an instant hit in mid-80s primetime television. Despite the self-assured and often glamorous nature of the characters she played, Delta Burke's real-life journey was marked by deep, personal vulnerabilities and intense public scrutiny. While she frequently portrayed extroverted, brash women, Burke herself was much more sensitive, navigating long-term struggles with depression and self-image that contrasted sharply with her on-screen bravado. Her career was often hampered by the industry's tendency to typecast her, as well as highly publicized behind-the-scenes hardships. During the height of her television fame, she endured cruel tabloid fixation on her weight and contentious disputes with network producers. She subsequently struggled to find a lasting comedy vehicle. Her follow-up starring sitcoms such as Delta and Women of the House suffered from low ratings and rapid cancellations, making it increasingly difficult for her to secure steady, fulfilling work in Hollywood. Delta Burke continued to act in various television roles throughout the 1990s and 2000s, including a memorable arc on Boston Legal, before largely stepping away from the Hollywood spotlight. She has been remarkably candid about her battles with type 2 diabetes, panic attacks, and compulsive hoarding syndrome, ultimately prioritizing her health and mental well-being over the relentless demands of the entertainment industry. At the age of 69, she remains happily married to actor Gerald McRaney, whom she wed in 1989. The couple enjoys a much quieter life today, having found peace away from the cameras, while Burke continues to be celebrated as a resilient icon of American television. James Coco as Nick Milano. Born on March 21, 1930, in the Little Italy neighborhood of Manhattan, New York. The talented stage and screen actor brought a special warmth to television screens as Nick Milano on the hit sitcom, Who's the Boss? At the age of 54, Coco's portrayal of Tony Michelli's sweet but bumbling con-man father-in-law became a beloved addition to the series. Though he only appeared in a handful of episodes, his performance as the naughty rascal with a deep love for his granddaughter left a lasting cultural impact, often cited as a prime example of his masterful comedic timing and his unique ability to blend humor with genuine pathos. Despite playing the extroverted, confident, and smooth-talking Nick Milano, James Coco's real life was marked by profound insecurities and a constant battle with his self-image. Where Nick was a carefree rule-breaker, Coco was intensely private and plagued by self-doubt, largely stemming from his highly publicized struggles with his weight. Professionally, his appearance as an overweight, prematurely balding man led to intense typecasting. He found himself frequently relegated to secondary character roles rather than the leading parts he deeply desired. He also endured the heartbreak of several short-lived television ventures, most notably starring in his own sitcom, Colucci's Department, which was swiftly canceled after suffering dismal ratings against Sanford & Son, a continuous professional frustration. James Coco continued to work in television, film, and theater throughout the 1980s, even authoring the best-selling book The James Coco Diet in 1983 to chronicle his weight loss journey. Privately, he lived as a closeted gay man, a truth about his personal life that only became public knowledge in the years following his passing. Coco died on February 25, 1987, at the age of 56 after suffering a heart attack at his Greenwich Village home in Manhattan. His death was followed by a poignant television aftermath. He passed away exactly one day after his final appearance on Who's the Boss was broadcast, leading the writers to respectfully kill off his character and center the emotional fourth-season episode, A Farewell to Nick, around his real-world loss. As of 2026, James Coco's legacy remains that of a deeply gifted Oscar-nominated performer who left an enduring mark on American entertainment. Robin Thomas as Paul McNeil. Born on February 12, 1949, the Carlisle, Pennsylvania native first brought the character of Paul McNeil to life on the hit 1984 sitcom Who's the Boss? At the age of 35, Thomas's portrayal of the suave and sophisticated figure became a memorable touchstone of the show's dynamic, offering a primetime depiction of 1980s corporate success that was both charming and significant. For the duration of his time on the series, his confident on-screen presence provided an essential foil to the main cast, defining a character that left a lasting cultural impact on the era's television landscape. Despite the character's smooth, extroverted, and highly polished demeanor, Robin Thomas was deeply introspective, artistically driven, and described by those who knew him as the polar opposite of the slick Paul McNeil. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. He found playing the deliberately corporate and arrogant character to be a creative challenge. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast, which for a period made it difficult for him to find rugged or diverse acting work after the role established his on-screen yuppie persona. The eventual phasing out of his character from the storyline brought a professional sting, reflecting the harsh unpredictability of television, where cast changes often happen without warning, leaving actors to navigate the disheartening realities of network show business. Robin Thomas continued to work in television and film for decades, though he eventually divorced after having 2 children and remained a relatively private individual dedicated to his art. He took on recurring and starring roles in numerous popular shows, including Another World, Murphy Brown, and The Division, and became beloved by a new generation as the warlock Calabar in the popular late 90s Disney Channel Halloween Town film series. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, he reprised his talents in guest spots on shows like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and the Mystery 101 series, while simultaneously maintaining a highly successful parallel career as a sculptor. As of 2026, at the age of 77, he is alive and continues to balance his multifaceted career, celebrated for his lifelong commitment to both storytelling and the visual arts. Kate Vernon as Kathleen Sawyer. Born on April 21, 1961 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the Canadian-American actress brought Kathleen Sawyer to life during the 6th and 7th seasons of the hit 1984 sitcom Who's the Boss? At the age of 29, Vernon's portrayal of the sophisticated and intelligent girlfriend of Tony Micheli became a memorable addition to the series. Her character introduced a mature academic dynamic to Tony's life, helping him navigate his college years and effectively stoking the underlying will-they or won't-they romantic tension between Tony and Angela that captivated audiences. Though she only appeared in a multi-episode arc, Kathleen Sawyer left a distinct mark on the show's cultural footprint as a smart, capable woman who provided a realistic and engaging romantic hurdle for the main cast. Despite the composed, put-together, and studious nature of her character, Kate Vernon has often described herself as a free-spirited and deeply grounded individual. Growing up in the shadow of her famous father, character actor John Vernon, she faced the daunting task of forging her own identity in Hollywood. Her career was frequently marked by the struggle of being typecast as the pretty girlfriend or the stuck-up rich girl, a trend that began with her iconic role as Benny Hansen in the 1986 film Pretty in Pink. She also experienced the professional hardships inherent to the industry, navigating the instability of brief television guest arcs and the sudden cancellations of short-lived sci-fi and drama shows, which made it difficult to find the consistent, complex leading roles she desired early in her career. Kate Vernon eventually found her defining career triumph years later, starring as the complex Ellen Tigh in the critically acclaimed sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica, which cemented her legacy in television history. In her personal life, she had a notable relationship with Three Dog Night lead singer Chuck Negron, with whom she shares a daughter, Annabelle. At the age of 64, she remains an active and respected figure in the entertainment industry, regularly attending fan conventions and embracing her enduring acting legacy. Her year began on a somber note, however, as she recently mourned the loss of her former partner, Negron, who passed away on February 2, 2026, marking a reflective and poignant chapter in her life. Nicole Eggert as Marcy Ferguson. Born on January 13, 1972 in Glendale, California, the young actress began her career in beauty pageants and commercials before landing her memorable recurring role on the hit sitcom Who's the Boss? At the age of 13, Eggert's portrayal of Marcy Ferguson. Samantha Micheli's slightly snobby, gossipy, yet fiercely loyal best friend added relatable teenage drama to a show that was rapidly becoming a massive cultural phenomenon. Her confident and competitive character resonated with young audiences, perfectly complementing the sitcom's primetime depiction of a modern blended household and setting the stage for Eggert's future status as a major 80s and 90s teen idol. Despite playing a bubbly, privileged, and carefree teenager on screen, Nicole Eggert's real-life experience in Hollywood was fraught with the immense pressures of being a child star. Her actual journey contrasted sharply with Marcy's relatively innocent suburban life, as Eggert was a hard-working professional navigating the demanding and often unprotected adult world of the entertainment industry since the age of 5. Her career was heavily marked by the severe struggle of being typecast. After starring in Charles in Charge and becoming a global sex symbol on Baywatch, she found it incredibly difficult to secure serious acting work. Pigeonholed as a blonde bombshell, the eventual cancellation of her major shows left her facing brutal professional hardships, which eventually pushed her to rely on reality television and even launch an ice cream truck business to support her family. Furthermore, she later revealed the darker reality of her early television years by courageously coming forward with allegations of abuse against a former co-star, highlighting the devastating personal toll hidden behind her on-screen smile. Nicole Eggert stepped away from traditional acting for many years, focusing instead on raising her two daughters, Dylan and April, and participating in reality programming like Celebrity Fit Club and Splash. In recent years, she stepped back into the entertainment world behind the camera, co-producing the 2024 docuseries After Baywatch Moment in the Sun, and hosting her own podcast. In late 2023, Eggert faced a daunting personal hurdle when she was diagnosed with stage 2 cribriform carcinoma breast cancer, a battle she has bravely documented and shared with the public to raise awareness. At the age of 54, she remains a resilient and inspiring figure, continuing to navigate her health journey while fiercely advocating for fellow cancer fighters and the protection of young actors in the industry. Who's the Boss wasn't just a sitcom. It was a journey of breaking boundaries and finding family in unexpected places. As we look at where the cast is now, we see the lasting legacy of a show that truly had heart. If this trip down memory lane touched your soul, please give this video a like. Your support helps us keep these television legends alive for years to come.